you know that they could close the door on you and you can still end up in the same room later, but in a better seat? Let me explain. So for college, I lived in Miami during breaks, but I went to school in Michigan. And I knew that I wanted to work in the credit union space. So over summer, I interviewed at one of the biggest credit unions in Miami. So we're at the interview, everything's going well. But when they found out that I'd eventually have to head back up north, they weren't so enthused. And that's fair, but they mentioned that they wanted to leave the door open for me to join later and to reach back out when I graduated. So guess what I did? I reached back out the next year. And when I graduated, they were actually hiring for the exact position that I wanted. And guess what happened? Crickets, basically. But I kept following up and eventually landed the interview for that role. And it was actually with the same person who interviewed me just a year before. And again, the interview went well, but I just had this sense that he didn't even really remember that last conversation. And they could have handled that interview better. It was one of those, we'll reach back out. But shortly after, another credit union posted a very similar position. So I interviewed, was offered the job during the interview, and signed the offer. And guess where my first community event was? In the very building where I had interviewed before. Twice. I ended up in the same place, and this time I wasn't headed to HR for an interview, but instead I was in a boardroom talking business and community impact. So thank God for the doors that close, because the turns that you don't make can lead you to the paths you're supposed to take. Sometimes it's less about the room not being meant for you and more about a better seat being prepared for you, even within the same room, because